welcome back to another video. So today's video I'm going to be talking about all the books I read in June. In June I read 31 books, which is surprising. I honestly thought I wasn't going to actually read that much because of my break, but I read a lot more because what I found out pretty much from the start is it's because I was reading for videos and not because I was ever mood reading. So that was my problem, but once I started mood reading, off I go with the reading. I was enjoying my time, so that's why I feel like I read pretty much what I normally read, kind of average. So yeah, let's just get into talking about the 31 books I read in June. So the first one I read is Heavy Crown. I actually kind of finished this after midnight and I rated this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed this. I feel like it was a great wrap up to the story, and you hear about all my thoughts in a reading vlog, the Brutal Birthright reading vlog, so I'm not going to talk about it much because you already know all of my thoughts. Then I read This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune. So I actually wrote a whole review which I'm going to read out for this one, but this book I rated 3.5 stars, which isn't surprising for a Carly Fortune book for me. I think the first book I rated, someone's telling me I rated it 5 stars, but I don't think it would be a 5-star now. Second book I rated, I think it was a 2-star. That one was quite disappointing. This one was kind of like in the middle. This was my review I wrote on Goodreads. I love the summer vibes in this book, so if you are looking for a summer book for this summer, I recommend this one. Felix and Lucy's chemistry was insane. I feel like you really feel their chemistry because you see them getting closer over several summers, the tension between them and how they can't stay away from each other when they're near each other. I just love them and their chemistry. I love that I got to see Felix and Lucy not quite make it for so long but kept finding their way back to each other each summer. It felt like a very realistic romance. I also love that it showed that they had to both sort their lives out before they could be together, and I appreciate that as I feel it was very realistic. Now there were a few things I didn't like, such as most of the story was quite predictable and there was parts of the book where I felt it was repeating itself, and that is when I got a little bored. Another thing I can't really explain as it is a spoiler, but what I am going to say is I would have liked a better reaction. Try not to spoil anything. So yeah, that is my thoughts on that one. So I'll definitely say it's not as good as the first book, but it's better than the second book in the series. But that's all I really have to say about that. That's why I read the review. Okay, then I read What Moves the Dead by P. Kingfisher. So this was an unexpected read. I didn't plan on reading it, but the book for Host for Pros in June, so I read it for that and I rated it 3 stars. I also did write a review for this one. If I write reviews for books, I'm just going to read the review. It's just easier that way. All my thoughts are wrapped up. So I put What Moves the Dead is worth the read. This book is very creepy, interesting and creative. I read this book in one sitting and it hooked me right from the beginning. It's also not the type of book I would normally go for, so for it to grip me like it did surprise me. I went into this thinking I wasn't going to like it, but I am so happy that I did. It was pretty slow going for a short book, but once you get into it, it gets really good. It becomes weird, gross and freaky. If you are looking for a good horror type book, then this is the one for you. Also very short, but I would say if you are looking for something quite creepy, this is the one. Then I finally read The Final Gambit, which is the 3rd and last book in the Inheritance Game series. I actually started this book in January, I think, with the first 2, and I got maybe halfway through, but then I just put it on pause. No reason for it, I just didn't continue, and so I started the whole book again this month, and I decided to settle on a 3.75 stars, which I think is the lowest book within the series that I've rated. It was still a good book and it was a lovely way to wrap up the series and the story, but I don't know what it was. I just feel like there was something missing from the story. Who she ended up with, it made sense. That's what I'm going to say without spoiling. Then I read The Night Shift by Annie Crown. I rated this book 4.5 stars. This book I loved so much, and if you have watched a couple of my videos from before, you know that this is quite one that I was really excited to get into because the back just sounded so good and I love the book cover and stuff. But I actually finally read it. I read it in one sitting. This book was so cute, so fun. I love the characters, I love the storyline. I just loved how fast-paced, quick, fluffy it was. I just really loved this book. And like I said, if you're looking for a book that you can read in one sitting, this is so easy. Because even the font in the book is quite big, but I just mean the writing style as well. It was just fast-paced and I really, really, really love this book. Okay, then I read Blood Marked by Tracy Dion, and this is the second book from The Legend-Born Cycle, and I rated this one 4 stars. I love this book as much as I did the first one. I heard people saying that they do love this book more than the first one. I've heard some people say they liked it, the first one more. The majority of people I've heard say that they like this one more. I love them both. I love the story. I just love everything about this series, and I'd definitely say it's a very good fantasy series, and a lot happens in it. I can't really talk about this book much without obviously spoiling anything from the first book, so I'm just gonna have to leave it there. Sorry that I'm constantly looking down. I'm looking at my tablet. Then I read Finley Donovan Jumps the Gun, which I rated 3 stars. I started the series in April. Was it April? I can't remember. But I started the series, and the first book I really loved. It was so fun, such a fun thriller, or mystery should we say, and it was just so light-hearted, and that's what I loved about it. And like I keep saying about other books, it was so fast-paced and I really enjoyed it. The second book in the series I still really enjoyed, and then this one obviously I really enjoyed as well, but I do feel like this one was a little bit less of a favourite of mine since the first and second book. I don't know what it was about this one. I just felt like there wasn't really like much to it. I did still really enjoy it. And then I read the little novella, which is Veronica I'm sorry, I don't know how to say it, Breaks the Bank, and this one I rated 2 stars. I did also write a review. I said I was bored through this. It felt like it was dragging on, even though it is so short. I think this is because I am not interested in Veronica's story, but it was nice to see her story before everything else happened. So yeah, I don't know what it was. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I just wasn't interested within the character herself, but this one just, I mean, it is a novella, so 2 stars for a novella I think is okay. And then I obviously read Finley Donovan Rolls the Dice, and I rated this one 4 stars. I did really enjoy this one a lot more than the third one, so I would definitely say the first book in the series is 100% my favourite. I don't know what it is about that book. And then I read The Comeback. I did rate this one 1 star, and to be honest, I couldn't really tell you anything about it because I don't remember a single thing about this book at all, and I think that just shows how much it stuck with me. I don't know if it was because I wasn't in the mood for it, or just personally like wasn't my kind of book, but I honestly couldn't tell you what this book is about. It's like I haven't read it, and I hate it when that happens with books because it just means it wasn't really memorable or like really like it stuck to me. Then I read Threaded by Tay Rose, and I rated this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed this. I read it so quickly, and please note it's a 600-page book, and I read it, I think it was 3 sittings. I read it so quickly, and I don't think I read fantasy that fast really, but I read this so quickly, and I would highly recommend it. I feel like it's such an underrated book. Go and read it now if you haven't already. Then I read If the Sun Never Sets, which is the second book in the If Love series by Anna Huang, and I rated this one 2 stars. I was actually kind of disappointed. I just don't feel a connection between the characters at all. I feel no romantic chemistry between them. I just don't know what it is. I don't like the storyline and everything that happened. If you read it, you know what happened in this book. I hate when it happens in books, and so it just threw me off a lot, but it is fast-paced read, so is that. I read Collide, and I love this book. I rated it 4.5 stars. I would definitely say Collide and Night Shift. Like, I really love those 2 books, and both of the covers, they're quite, I don't know, in my head they're quite similar. They're not really. I really love this book. I love the characters, I love the storyline, I just love everything about it. I don't really have much to say about any of these books if you haven't noticed. I'm just basically telling you the ratings. I hope you don't mind. This is also a fast-paced read as you get hooked within the story. Then I read When the Moon Hatched, and this one actually surprised me as well. 4.5 stars. This is such a good fantasy book. I honestly thought it was going to be like, at first I thought it was going to be another 5-star kind of like fourth thing, but near the end I felt like near the middle I felt like it dragged on a little bit, so it did throw me off a little bit, but it was still a really good book. And then I read You Loved Me, and this is the third and final book in the You series, and I rated this 4 stars. I read the first 2 in March and loved them, and I just love this series. Watching it or reading it, I just love it. I find it so interesting, and it's quite scary because it just proves how scary everything is. You know what I mean? Like, without saying too much, I don't know, it can be quite scary to read when you really think about it. And then I read The Fall of the House of Usher, and this one I rated 2 stars. So this is the one came before What Moves the Dead, and I think they're compared if I remember correctly, but I did read this one because it's quite short, and I did write reviews. I said unfortunately this book was way too wordy for me, and that is why I think I might have struggled to follow the story. So yeah, I just feel like maybe this was a bit too much of like an older one for me, because I do find older books I find really hard to understand because of the writing style from back then, and I'm just not smart enough, and I can admit that. Okay, then I read Role Playing, and this book I rated 3 stars. This was actually really fast paced, fun. I read it in one sitting, I think, or 2 sittings, I can't really remember, but I read it really quickly. I just love the book. I love the characters, and I really felt like a romantic chemistry. That it was like different from what I normally read. I think just what threw me off personally is the fact that they're older, and I'm not used to that, and obviously I can't relate to it because I'm not older, if that makes sense. But I feel like if you are in like I think that was 40s, so if you're in your 40s, you could probably like relate to this so much more than what I could. That's what threw me off a little bit, because I just couldn't relate to that personally. But like they already had, I think they both already had kids, if I remember correctly, and I know the main female character did. But yeah, they already like had kids, had lives. Like I said, I can't relate to that personally, but that I did enjoy it, and I would recommend it. It was like a fun book. Then I reread Next of Kin by Hannah Bone Young. I rated this sort of 4.75 stars the second time reading it, because I do still love this. First time I rated 5 stars, but like now that I reread it, comparing it to my 5-star reads just doesn't compare. Like 5-star reads means like top tier. You know what I mean? I have to feel a certain way for a 5-star read. With rereading this one, it's a 4.75 stars. It's so close to being that, and I couldn't tell you why it's not 5-star, but with 5 stars I just have to have this feeling within my heart, if that makes sense. Like I just have to have this feeling. I don't know how to explain it. But this book I would still highly recommend. Obviously I put it in a video recently. This book is really good, and it's so fast paced. I read it quickly. But yeah, I love this book because it's definitely different from what I normally read, because it's about our main female character and our main male character. Female character Chloe, she is trying to get custody of her younger sister, and then our main male character, I forgot his name, he's trying to get custody of his 15-year-old deaf brother. They have to get into like this program thing to be able to, like, I think it's financial and like roof over their head basically. They both have to have the same thing, so live together, try and get their siblings kind of thing. Then I read The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez, and I really enjoyed this book. This was a 4.25 stars. It's not surprising that I really enjoyed this anyway, because it's Abby Jimenez. I absolutely love Abby Jimenez book, and I would definitely highly recommend this. I feel like it was like a nice, quick, fast-paced read. I did listen to the audiobook while like I was reorganizing my bookshelves, so like my memory of it is a bit like foggy, because when I listen to audiobooks I don't obviously remember all the details. I don't really anyway, but I do highly recommend this. Okay, then I read Revenge Era, which is a novella. I rated this 3.75 stars. This is a ex-boyfriend's dad, and it's only 162 pages, so I wanted to read the third book. I saw the third book in a TikTok, I think, and I really like the sound of that, but I'm one of those people that like I have to read, even if you can read it as standalones, I have to read books within the order. So I started off with this one, which I didn't mind, and I did enjoy it. I think 3.75 stars. I rated it. Then I think that's stuff I read but way before this, but it's all the way down here, so I rated this 4 stars. I finished the series. I love this book so much. I guess I can't put it down. I started it in May and I continued it because I didn't want it to end, because I love the series so much. So I did drag it out a little longer than what like I normally would have, but I did really enjoy it. Then I read Professor Asta, and I'm not going to talk about the following books much because, well, I haven't talked about any of these books much, but I'm not going to talk about the following books much because it's coming in reading vlog. Professor Asta, this is part of a series. It's the 3rd book, and I know I just said I normally read series in order, but this one I didn't know was part of a series, so I was like 100% in, and at that point I was like, I might as well continue. And you can read them as standalones, I hope. I think. But this one was a 5-star read. I absolutely love this so much. I don't know what it is. 5 stars. Absolutely love. This is a teacher student, but it's different, because it says, after an amazing night, Leah finds out the man of her dreams gave her the wrong phone number. The last thing she expected was for him to show up 2 years later as a professor and PhD supervisor. As if that's not bad enough, the new VIP client who just hired her as his nanny turns out to be none other than the very same exclusive billionaire masquerading as a professor at the college his family owns. No matter how they resist, life keeps pushing Leah and Adrian together in a cruel twist of fate. After all, they can never be together. She's his student, his nanny, his cousin's best friend. She's off limits. So it's completely different from like the casual teacher student. Highly recommend. Love this. Then I decided to go in for novella, and I decided on Father's Bliss, and I rated this one 3 stars. This is also another ex-boyfriend's dad. It's only 105 pages. I would recommend it. It's a nice, quick, fast-paced read. Then I read I Have No Mouth and I'm a Scream, which I rated 2 stars. I think it was just like writing style was too complicated. I did find it hard to understand the majority of it. And then I read Run on Red, and I rated this 2.5 stars. This book I was enjoying at first, and I love the fact that it like jumped in, it just jumped into the story. Then just the farther we got in, the more it lost me, to be honest. Then I reread the Mind F series, and all of this I gave 5 stars. I absolutely love the series. I'm so glad I reread it. It was a buddy read, that's why I reread it. I love the series so much, and to be honest, I forgot how much I loved it, but I read all of them in one day, so that just proves how much I love it. Then I found I was looking for like a novella, and I went into the Kindle Unlimited part for novellas, and I found one called Love Language, and I read this 2.5 stars. I did really enjoy it. It's an MM romance, workplace romance, and I did enjoy it. The characters I did like and everything. I just feel like you didn't really like have time to build up like a romantic chemistry between them. I also felt like sometimes they did act a little bit childish. But at first I did think they was like in high school or whatever, or like college. I don't think they are. That is all the books that I read in the month of June. Sorry that it was rapid fire and that I hardly said anything, or if I did, it wasn't really much. I never know what to really say about books, so I'm thinking of trying to start writing reviews, because I feel like you get more detail about my thoughts when I write the reviews on Goodreads. Probably do that, it might be helpful, especially for more than what I have. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to end this video here. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you would like to see more bookish content from me, and I hope to see you on my next one. Bye.